So how did you get to the decision to do more product development? Because you could easily do more client work and someone else do the product development. But why go out of you do the product development and someone else take over the client work that you're working on?
It's a good question. Well, being the owner of the company, I can work on whatever I want to work on and get the
Sure.
final say.
Yeah.
But that's a great point. We could technically hire people to do this directly. And I trust any of our guys we have now currently to be able to just go in and work on a product. But we see the overall trajectory of the company in the next several years being the biggest part of the company will be product revenue. And so I just want to make sure that we're focused on that. And me doing it, I'm to say that I don't constrict myself very well to the 8 to 5 hours. I will probably spend 60 hours a week working on stuff like this. So if there was anything that I want to be overworked, it's the product side. And I don't want to tell my developers that they have to work longer hours. And will not be happy at me for admitting all this, that I work more than whatever our normal weekly hours is. But I really want these things launched. I want them launched well. So just spending as much time as I can on them, it will certainly help.
So the main thing is you want these products out fast, so bad that you're not going to ask your team to have 60-hour weeks, or you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Right. But it is something that you want to do.
Right.
And so you're doing. I respect that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
As
I
well.
don't know if I just don't need a lot of sleep. I go to bed pretty late and I wake up at a pretty normal time. So I may get 5 to 6 hours of sleep a night on like a normal night. Sometimes if I'm really ambitious, I'll get 5 hours of sleep. Sure, I'm a little tired once in a while, but I feel like I don't know. Maybe I just don't need as much sleep as the average person. I think it varies from person to person. Maybe I got lucky that it's not great for me.
But I want to go down a lot of rabbit trails right now, but I want to stick with, I think the biggest thing to get out of this little section right here is the delegation part. You're putting client work on your team so that you can free yourself up to essentially do only the work that you can do. My philosophy on assigning work to someone else is you should only be doing the work that only you can do. Everything else should be assigned to somebody else. So what is your game plan for bringing those other developers on? Like really tactical. What's it look like? You're handing off 20% of the work. Are you doing it one task at a time? Act like you're telling me how to do it, because I also want to know, how do I assign work to people when I don't have to do it myself?
It's a great question. I by myself development for 4 to 5 years. And so I'm not an expert at trying to work with a large team like that. I'm just so used to being able to just get in there, do everything I need to do without anybody else caring or knowing about what I'm doing, or having to coordinate anything. So it's going to be a challenge for myself too once we get into that. One thing that we're trying to do with the platform is create it in a very modular way where these pieces could be very independent and almost live by themselves. So I think that will help. So if developers or certain teams will own pieces of the platform, that maybe that we solve that. But there's obviously going to be some toes being stepped on once in a while. The other thought is we're not just working on one product, we are working on several. So if that ends up being it's distributed just by product, if we have 3 or 4 different products being worked on at the same time, then everybody gets their own product to work on. That's cool. Yeah. And I think just also specializing across that, if we have specific skill sets in DevOps, we have specific skill sets in AI, maybe people will just own those pieces of the platforms, of the products. But I do think we're heavily focused in AI productivity right now, so that if one person can, with the help of their AI assistants and agents, run with a single product, and just that one person works on it, maybe you split it up between back-end and front-end developer, maybe it gets that far. But I definitely see AI helping there.
Yeah.
It takes the place of a couple junior developers where you can really lead the direction of the platform or the product. And your formerly junior developers are now your co-pilots and your cursors.
It sounds like just implementing the tools to make it easier for things to not be so dependent on one person. Because even the agents and the models helping people code can also help document. And so, which is roughly the third of an engineer's time. If you were to have a developer build something for 10 hours, it could easily be documented over the course of 3 hours or 4.
Yes.
And
And test writing too.
with AI and everything, it saves the developer time. You build something for 10 hours and then you could add 3 or 4 more hours on top of that to document it.
Document and tests too.
The tests.
I've never been a great tester, so I'm really hoping that this takes the place of all that.
What are you guys doing? What are you guys using for testing? Are you guys using AI for tests or end-to-end?
Well, there's a lot of playwright tests. So primarily we've been focusing in the .NET stack, and playwright fits very nicely into that, which is like a browser automation testing, so into browser automation stuff. And there's several other unit test libraries for .NET that are nice. And I know we have a dedicated QA guy, and he's been experimenting a lot with AI in that regard. He showed off a video the other day of him playing around with a term everybody's talking about right now, MCP. So MC in the playwright, so that Copilot can actually talk directly to the automated browser. Really cool stuff. So I think we're going to find a lot of improvements there.
Nice, that's cool. I have not had time to play with that. I really want to do more with testing, because I think there is a company out there now, I can't think of the name. There is a company who is doing browser automation with AI, and that just sounds like, for one, you could do like scraping on steroids, but then for two, like you could do a lot of testing if you just describe your product to it, and then you give it a browser at that URL, it'll figure out what it needs to test.
And it's becoming more and more easier for just anybody to do that now with MCP. So MCP, if you're not familiar, is just like a protocol for AI to talk to some service. Basically defines the tools that they can have access to resources and run actions against something. And so if you think about the browser as just an external tool, you can take actions to navigate around, and you can get resources, which is the HTML or a screenshot from it. The AI can just talk directly to it and figure out exactly what it wants to do. So it's very cool.
So model context protocol, right?
It's kind of the new thing, the new standard that people are adopting for talking to external resources.
So this is the new API.
It is. And all it really takes to
XML to this.
All it is just a couple different endpoints of a list of resources and a list of actions tools that an AI can see, and it's just JSON coming from that, but it's just that standard. There were things like this already, different flavors from the different LLM providers and AI systems. Anthropic came up with this one, I believe, and really it took off, I think, because of everybody's love of Cursor. So it became what everybody was using and talking about, and I know some of the other players have just admitted in the last week or two that they'll start to implement MCP.
I'm probably going to end my workday, because we are actually at Sweetwater having some more conversations about it. And so I'm going to probably end my day and spend a good chunk Monday looking into this, because I've heard it all over the place and I'm super excited about it. One thing I'm starting to see frameworks and libraries do is create an llm.txt. So myframeworkwebsite.com/llm.txt, and it just exports all of the documentation as README. So you have one place to just go dump context into whatever LLM you're using.
That's smart. I think most platforms, if they want to stay relevant, are going to have to make it AI friendly, be able to interact with it. Even a lot of the big ones, people talk about Stripe all the time. They're redesigning their platform to be super easy for an AI to use, for agents to just go and buy things, which is really interesting.
I'm really excited about UI-less software. I think
you're just interacting with the agent and it's doing its stuff. Yeah.
Yes, I have a project in my backlog. I have, for my business, I have another developer who he's an overseas developer and he's doing all my selfish projects. Laravel developer, super into the framework, very nice. And he's going to be helping with some client work, but mostly the projects I want to do. And one of them, go steal this idea, is a very simple custom GPT essentially, but you interface it through texts. And all you do is like just save the contact as my assistant or whatever. So I can say, I'm going to say, hey, Gorgle, so that my phone doesn't do anything. But you can say, like, hey, Gorgle, text my assistant to remind me to get milk tomorrow while I'm at the grocery store. And then it would ask a follow-up question, or it would build out some kind of thing to go store a job somewhere. And so if anything has a JSON API now, I could interact with it. But I think with MCP, it becomes easier for a product like that to say, make me a reservation on an open table.
Yes.
Or here's my budget, $100 a night in St. Padre, Texas. Go find me a decent Airbnb that's a whole house at around $100 a night. And it will just do that, and then it'll let you know. And an Airbnb is going to become valuable for its data, and maybe partially because of its UI. Right now, it's really nice because of its UI. It's great, and it's got a good index of properties. But building the index of property is right now maybe half the battle. The other half is making a good user experience. And whenever that goes away, I think there's going to be a lot more capitalizing on real good ideas and actual good data. Who has the actual best places to stay in their index?
Yeah, that is a really good thought. And I don't disagree that we're definitely going to see that.